Finally, it happened. Joker has crossed the billion-dollar threshold at the worldwide box office, with an R rating and without China. In this editorial, I will first cover how stunning and upset this is in the bigger scheme of things, before exploring how the iconography of the movie has taken on a life of its own around the world. Then I'll discuss the sequel prospects and how J.J. Abrams and Bad Robot may factor into that equation. If you like the content of this video, then please leave a like and help share it. Also, feel free to subscribe and be sure to indicate you want notifications on all videos. Finally, we've heard from multiple existing subscribers that they've been randomly unsubscribed by YouTube, so please check that you are still subscribed, and that you've indicated that you want notifications on all videos while you're at it. With that out of the way, let's dive in. Joker has now joined the billion-dollar club, alongside the likes of The Avengers, Iron Man, Avatar, Titanic, and Star Wars, to name the more prolific ones. Interestingly, the only other members of that club with any DC affiliation are Aquaman and The Dark Knight. No one else. Man of Steel couldn't clear $1 billion, neither could Batman and Superman, nor Wonder Woman or the Justice League together. But the Joker did it, all on his own, and on a total production budget that wouldn't even cover the above-the-line costs of those other movies. That's what's so staggering here. The combination of low production cost, the rating, and no release in China, which is the second biggest movie market in the world. Several comic book movies have ticked all of those boxes before, but none of them have come even close to box office numbers like these. The Punisher, Punisher Warzone, Dredd, and the Hellboy reboot, all either underperformed or outright flopped. Although there are good reasons why none of them lived up to the potential inherent in the brand. Of those that were successful, Deadpool did good enough that it changed the industry, but it didn't even cross 800 million, let alone $1 billion. A PG-13 cut of Deadpool 2 was released in China, and it still didn't cross 800 million. Logan was also released in China, but unlike Deadpool, it wasn't a feel-good movie and thus didn't even cross 700 million at the worldwide box office. That is not a slight, mind you. Logan was insanely successful too, but Joker is out of this world successful. It isn't just the highest grossing R-rated comic book movie of all time, it is the highest grossing R-rated movie of all time, period. Given its comparatively minuscule production budget, it is also fast approaching one of the most profitable movies of all time as well. To me, these are all-around fantastic news. A movie like Joker being this successful shows Hollywood that you don't always need to spend hundreds of millions on some PG-13 4-quadrant CGI-heavy fluff to bring in the bucks. Sometimes going all in on a direction which on paper might alienate some quadrants is the way to go, if you have the right combination of story, character, and talent, both in front of and behind the camera. The flip side of that is that so many seeing and enjoying this movie may remind the general audience that seeing something other than the latest Marvel movie may be a worthwhile venture too. So many complain about lack of original movies, but we, the audience, share our part of the blame for that. More often than not, audiences tend to ignore the original movies there are, all while flocking to the next branded big-budget CGI fest. It's gotten to the point where Todd Phillips more than implied that wrapping it into a comic book movie was the only way to make a quote-unquote real movie. In so doing, Phillips not only expanded what a comic book movie could be, he also put out a reminder there are movies beyond the comic book genre as well. Case in point, how many discovered Taxi Driver or King of Comedy by way of the Joker? And how many other movies will they also discover just by going down those rabbit holes? More than that, how many more movies will they now suddenly be more open to going forward? There were so many who wanted this movie to fail. So many in the media, so many special interest groups. And it was made all the worse by director Todd Phillips' comments on the political left and cancel culture, as previously covered. In an effort to undermine it, the movie was declared to be a symbol of disenfranchised white males, accused of celebrating incel culture, and to top it off, audiences were even warned that if you go see this, you might end up getting shot. As it turned out, audiences didn't listen to the warning, and I'm sure at least some were dismayed to find that no one got shot on the movie's march to $1 billion, not even with a birdshot. Instead, audiences loved this incredibly bleak and dreary movie. And you know what? The movie did become a symbol, but not of incels or disenfranchised white males. Instead, it has become a symbol of rebellion. It has become a symbol of resistance to oppression. The Joker mask has appeared in popular uprisings in everywhere from Chile to Beirut, from Iraq to Hong Kong. According to William Blank, historian and author of the book Superheroes: A Political History, Todd Phillips' film about the Joker has real evocative power. In his words, it echoes a form of protest against a political system that people believe is inflexible and not listening to the people. All in all, Todd Phillips' Joker captured lightning in a bottle in every way, and it earned everyone involved a fortune in the process. Surely, they would all want to repeat that. Leading into the movie, we heard from both director Todd Phillips and star Joaquin Phoenix that their Joker was a standalone movie, a one-and-done deal, not a part of any DC cinematic universe. That, however, was before they changed their minds. This level of success has a tendency to do that, and I assure you that both Todd Phillips and Joaquin Phoenix have been very keen to do another, and for a long time. Both men are very successful in their respective fields, but none have experienced this level of success before. Still, award season is coming up, and I'm sure they don't want the Academy jurors to think they're quote-unquote selling out by making sequels to something they said would be standalone. And so they'll be vague about it for a little while longer. The indications that they are keen to do another are, however, already there. Around the time of the movie's release, director Todd Phillips told the LA Times, "There's a lot of ways you could look at this movie. You could look at it and go, this is just one of his multiple choice stories. None of it happened. I don't want to say what it is, but a lot of people I've shown it to have said, oh, I get it. He's just made up a story. The whole movie is the joke. It's this thing this guy in Arkham Asylum concocted. He might not even be the Joker." Since then, Phillips has fueled further fan speculation that Arthur Fleck might just have been some random bozo who inspired the real Joker. Joaquin Phoenix recently responded to that. He said, "Fuck that shit, I'm the Joker." I'm paraphrasing, of course. His actual words were that he does personally believe that Fleck is the actual Joker, before adding, "I don't know," with a wry smile. "It's just my opinion." However, I would imagine that this opinion might be influenced by the fact that the Joker has already become his most iconic role. And I'm sure he must be asking himself if he'll ever play anything as influential ever again, outside of possibly returning to the Joker. On Popcorn with Pete Travers, he was asked if Joker was his dream role, to which he replied, "You know, I wouldn't have thought about this as my dream role, but now, honestly, I can't stop thinking about it. I talked to Todd a lot about what else we might be able to do, in general, just to work together, but also specifically, if there's something else we can do with Joker that might be interesting. So it ended up being a dream role. Without even being asked about sequel possibilities, Joaquin nonetheless volunteered. Me and Todd would still be shooting now if we could, right? Because it seemed endless, the possibilities of where we can go with the character." Those are the words of someone wanting a sequel, and it would appear he is speaking for Todd Phillips as well. As for Todd Phillips, he is also letting his interest in a sequel slip more and more. In an article published November 13th in the LA Times, he made it clear there is nothing in the works at the moment, but he's not opposed to the idea of a sequel. But it couldn't just be this wild and crazy movie about the clown prince of crime, he says. It would have to have some thematic resonance in a similar way this does. Because I think that's ultimately why the movie connected, is what's going on underneath. So many movies are about the spark, and this is about the powder. If you could capture that again in a real way, that would be interesting. That is also a very far cry from his earlier words about this being a one-and-done deal. So, Joaquin Phoenix is up for a sequel, Todd Phillips is up for a sequel, and you can bet DC on film head honcho Walter Hamada is keen to sign off on a sequel. He greenlit the movie in the first place, but he also greenlit Birds of Prey, and he may want to repeat the success of Joker after that. But then there is the matter of J.J. Abrams and Bad Robot. Ever since the first season of Game of Thrones, audiences were teased that winter was coming, and by implication, hell followed with it. In the end, that winter turned out not to be such a big deal, on screen anyway. The promised winter for DC on film is the arrival of J.J. Abrams and Bad Robot. After working their particular brand of magic on first Star Trek and then Star Wars, they have now set their sights on DC, and the deal with Warner has been entered. But how extensive will their input and control over DC turn out to be? Will they replace Hamada and take over everything? Or will they just make some movies here and there while working with Hamada in between his other movies, like a possible Joker sequel? Is winter truly coming for DC? Or will this winter too end up something of an overrated threat? That we do not know yet. When we find out, we will be sure to let you know. In the meantime, let me know your thoughts on the Joker reaching $1 billion and the impact the movie has made in the comments.